And when you're pulling green, slimy something out of it, you ask the cook, what'd you guys put in here? Oh, oil. Oil. Hey. And you point at a big jug of oil.
Welcome to Access Granted, a peek inside the real-life stories of physical security professionals. Now, here are your hosts, Justin, John, Ryan, and Brandon.
Hey, everybody! Welcome back, everybody. This is Brandon with J&J Access and Security. My producer told me not to be too quiet, so I just wanted to make sure everybody could hear me on that. Today, we're going to be talking about myth-busting, common security misconceptions in our world of locksmithing and security.
But I can start.
All right, go ahead.
Goodness.
Brandon is really not that handsome.
Actually, ladies,
that is
this angle
false,
right here.
That's a false alley.
Right here.
Yeah, look at him. Look at him.
It's not so bad.
That's a good angle.
Nah, I need to get my hair done, and I honestly forgot that this was this morning. So if I do seem a little tired and out of it, I did not have this on my radar for this morning. So I do apologize for not being as prepared.
Handsome.
And I didn't do my hair. Didn't wear my favorite shirt.
The one that makes your nipples pop.
Yeah, I look like shit. All right. Well, good thing this is a podcast, not a video cast.
Well, we are recording for the first time ever.
Yeah.
I would say that the biggest myth that people get is twofold: graphite and WD-40. The biggest myth: they aren't going to help your lock. Don't use a bunch of graphite. Don't use a bunch of WD-40. Don't use graphite and WD-40 in tandem.
Sure, don't use cooking oil. That was Ryan had to clean that out a lot.
And when you're pulling green, slimy something out of it, you ask the cook, what'd you guys put in here? Oh, oil. Hey. And you point at a big jug of oil.
Don't use graphite. Don't use WD-40 in your cylinder, especially not together. Graphite was the lubrication of choice for 100 years for locks that weren't brass on brass. For those of you who do not know, brass on brass is self-lubricating as long as it's not tarnished. Now, when they had old Morris locks, they would use a puff, a straight-up puff of graphite to lubricate some cylinders. In most cases, more graphite makes the cylinder work worse. If you're spraying WD-40 in a lock, the lock would have to be seized before I would recommend using that. And then I would want you to clean that out with some sort of penetrating oil and then some type of silicone or natural-based lubricant like Triflow or Houdini before you started using it again. We don't want to leave that WD-40 in there because WD-40 is a water repellent, and then it would cause the contents that are in the lock that are gumming it up already to congeal and rest at the back or the bottom of the cylinder.
And, of course, WD-40, when it pools or congeals, it will also freeze. It does not have a low freezing point.
Yeah. We recommend for the lubrication of your locks something to the tune of Lock Oil, it's a company that's called, or Triflow or Houdini. Houdini is a citrus-based lubricant. It smells better than Triflow. It's the big difference. Those will work really great, and there's no limit to how much you can put in there, depending on how much you want it running down the door.
Does Triflow have any bad side effects?
Triflow, I've always preferred. It tastes like shit. If you wash your hands before you eat.
That explains a lot.
Wash your hands before you eat. It will definitely stay there. But that Houdini, that orange shit, it will leave residue, like an orange residue on the door if it dries. So you need to make sure that you wipe that up really good. Triflow will leave a little bit of a streak, but not as bad as like the
I believe
the orange.
Triflow's a silicone-based, so whatever would cause issues with silicone. I do believe both of them have the hydrocarbons that come from accelerants in compressed air.
So since it's silicone-based, we can actually use it as a wood polish?
Wood polish, yes, and then Houdini Triflow is okay for electronics, being silicone based. You can use it without kind of shorting it out because it's not silicone based with water base, which is great. But yeah, that's a huge myth. Don't do that. Don't just go get a powder keg of graphite and dump it in your lock and assume it's going to make it better. It might work good for a couple turns, but the instant you leave it away, it's going to get worse. And the same thing with most of the time, if you sprayed a ton of WD-40 in it, I can smell the difference. And don't lie to me when you bring it in. Like, did you spray WD-40 in this? No. That's weird because it smells like you sprayed a ton of WD-40 in it. It's going to make my life a little harder. And sometimes we have to put it in a sonic cleaner to clean the gum and grime out of that. I haven't done it in a while, but we have had to do that and let it soak overnight to let that sonic cleaner clean that grime and dirt out of that cylinder.
Should you lubricate your locks?
Yes.
And how often?
Seasonally.
When you say seasonally, I mean salt and pepper. I mean,
yes.
what are we talking? Okay.
To taste. As Brandon said, you season your lubricate your locks to taste.
A season is when the temperature and the climate changes. We have 4 of them. Typically, I would try and do it at least 4 times a year. It's not going to hurt anything to spray a little Houdini Triflow or lubricant-based spray in your locks. They're definitely going to last longer because even when we go to pick stuff, especially when they tell us, we never use this door. When you try to go and rake that stuff, it is just dried, corrosive sprays that
can affect how it picks.
Yeah.
Spiders crawl out of it.
Spiders crawl out of it. Yes, that's when you really haven't used this.
Yeah, and there are 2 types of lubricant that we use when we're lubricating a lock. Like I said, again, none of them are graphite or WD-40. We use a silicone base or a citrus-based lubricant in the locking cylinder. If there's something that doesn't take a key, we do use a lithium-based for some staying power. So on the latch or whatever, that lithium is going to dry more like a powder, and it'll stay on that latch through the season. Reason we recommend it seasonally is to clean out any gunk or debris that have accumulated in the keyway or the latching device with the citrus base, and then we reapply the lithium on places anywhere other than the keyway.
It's not so much a myth, but have you guys? This is something that really pissed me off. Have you guys seen that one like TikTok nonsense, like DIY making a key for something? And I mean, the steps you have to go through is fucking ridiculous for trying to.
Is
make
it like
a copy.
one of those foreign videos where
it's like the hard plastic, and they take it like a piece of hard plastic, and they draw the key out, and then they take and snip the key out, and then this flimsy ass piece of plastic they stick in a lock and it turns just like a regular key. Bullshit! Don't lie to me. Like that's nonsense. And it's not gonna work.
There are methods of creating keys that have been used clandestinely or in the past called impressioning. Whether that's impressioning by reading the key as it's making marks in the cylinder, or by physically impressioning the key in clay. Those are things that can happen, and there are new techniques now that people are using to steal things out of people's houses is through apps. You put your key on a piece of white paper, the app can measure the cuts. You can do that. Yeah. As long as you have another key, you can go get it to replace it. But the fact that you're getting using your prison wallet to impression a key and then breaking out of prison that way.
What's a prison wallet?
We're not going to get into that. If you don't know, it's one of those, if you don't know, you don't need to know. To impression a key and then breaking out of jail, that's just, the likelihood of that is not happening. And it's, I think another big myth in is bump keys. There's a big thing on online and on the news here last 20 years. Bump keys are a thing, and they do work. I guess the likelihood it's going to happen here in the Quad City area is low. More so now than it would have been 5 to 10 years ago because people are selling these things online. But it's basically more susceptible when you have a cylinder that's master keyed from a high rise. But it is possible to do it. What you're doing there is you're bouncing the pins with a small mallet to hit what's called the shear line or the plug to allow it to rotate. It is possible. It's not as big of a deal, but a lot of locks have been made in the last 20 years being quote unquote bump proof.
Even with that, when we talk about, someone says, well, my lock was picked or, they used a bump key. We can actually tell you if that's done. Those type of things leave telltale signs.
There's a whole genre of locksmithing called forensic locksmithing that is used in the insurance world or investigative world for criminality to tell how people defeated that lock. And there are marks that are on the face of the lock or the inside the lock that are going to be told if someone did pick it. I guess the next big one is, do we use the only way to open a safe is through dynamite or glycerin?
Stethoscope?
Yeah, there you go.
That is a fourth option that I never get to.
Yeah. You've never used dynamite or explosives.
No.
I've never used a plasma torch to cut open the hinges.
Nope. And it wouldn't work.
No, I watched a video online the other day where they had a Sentry, a John Day Sentry, so it was probably from the late 60s, that they said that what you needed to do is pry the hinges off first to get a good lip on it. And it was a 40-minute long video of them trying to get into a Sentry. The only reason I'm taking that long is if the customer's telling me a story about why it was their grandfather's heirloom, and this $30 Sentry safe back then is something we have to protect.
Right. You know, I saw the one online not too long ago where the guy takes a big grinder and he grinds the side out of the safe and he gets into it and says, well, now you see these safes are not very good, blah, 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 and you should buy this. Of course, if he had not done any of that and just asked us and paid the money, we could have been in there in about 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah. The big thing, too, is, okay, the myth here being that we're going to destroy your safe to get into it. 99% of the time, we're not going to do that. We're going to do something where if we do have to drill the safe, it's going to be repairable. Right?
Right. I mean, the largest hole I usually drill in a safe is a 1/4 inch, and that's just because one of my scopes won't fit in the 3/16 that I usually drill.
Yeah.
I try to make them as big as my head so I can just stick it and hit in there and see what's going on. Okay.
I guess the next myth within all of that is the fact that that dynamite is used. Now, for a while there was a time before we had drill and tooth technology and battery-powered or electrical drills, that was a way to get in, and they used that in the turn of the century to get into safes. But that it was either manipulation, the art of trying to find the combination through feel, and in some cases, like Brandon said, the stethoscope. But what you're doing with the stethoscope is in there, or you're blowing it up.
Well, the problem with dynamite, and you know that's more movie than it is real life, is that if you use dynamite on anything, and you would have to pack it, do all these other things, but then the contents of that safe probably are not going to be something that's usable to you when you're done.
Yeah, that's true.
There was actually a case of a gentleman who back in the 70s must have been watching a movie, and he went and he taped the safe up, the door and everything else, and he carefully placed in nitroglycerin into the safe itself, poured it full, and then he ignited it. They found the safe had gone through the roof, was embedded in the parking lot, and they unfortunately found the poor gentleman. He was in 3 pieces.
Yeah, it's too dangerous for us to do that. We wouldn't make any money because the first time we did it, we'd probably hurt somebody or ourselves. I guess the big question is, what do we do when we can't open the safe? Right?
Haven't found one of those yet either.
But it wasn't because we couldn't get into it.
Right.
It's because the customer didn't want to pay for us to get into it.
Yes.
There was a cannonball that we did come across, safe, that had been survived in a fire. And I don't. For those of you who don't know, most cannonball safes, which are large round safes with round doors, actually thread the door into the casing. And most of these were made from an alloy of steel called manganese. And it actually is pressure hardened. So as you drill into it, it's going to harden and get harder and harder. And really there's no limit to how hard that steel can get as you apply pressure. And they were specifically designed against explosive attacks. And the lock in this instance just stopped the dial and the handle from being able to thread the cylinder in place. And this particular safe, which was about an hour and a half south of us in the Quad City area, had survived a fire, and the guy himself had tried to open the safe and threaded it in the wrong direction, right? We didn't have to defeat a lock. We had to defeat the door. And with a tapered, threaded door, when you over-tighten it and imply heat, which would happen with the fire, you can take the molecules of that manganese and you can fuse them together. And the issue that we had is on his property, we could not apply enough force to the thread in the correct direction, which in this case is counterclockwise. And we even made a specific plate that bolted onto the face of the safe so we could magnify our force with a lever and apply a large steel rod and try to thread this door in the proper direction to get it open. And what we suggested to the customer is that we needed to bring that safe back to our shop where we could put it in a cradle that would hold that door and safe in place while we applied hydraulic pressure to the safe. And then if last resort, if it was so welded shut via the heat and the counter rotation, that we could take and contract a diamond rope saw to cut the back off the safe of it off with the possibility of damaging the contents. And the customer refused.
I've got one.
Yes, go ahead, Justin.
How about it?
Jason, jeez, I'm Justin.
Yes, sorry. I'm looking at you talking to him behind me.
Is it a myth that locking hardware alone is enough to secure our homes? Can you maybe talk a little bit about what types of doors and windows help make our homes more secure if locking hardware alone isn't always enough?
Locking hardware will go a long way, but the biggest thing with all locking systems is a deterrent. And it's a physical barrier that's going to make it harder. And the goal is, and it's a sad reality, the goal is to make your house the hardest target that they go somewhere else. So yes, there's always going to be a vulnerability that can be exploited. But the goal is to marry that between passive and active security to make them go, nope, I'm going somewhere else.
Right. Most crimes are crimes of opportunity. And with that being said, if you have been targeted for a particular reason, whether it be jewelry, money, art, something that's in your home, then you need to take additional security measures, like we said with the alarms, the cameras, notifications and so forth. Because it doesn't matter what you do, we can defeat it.
And it comes down to layers. So it's not one specific door. There's not one specific window that's going to make your house impenetrable. It's layers of security.
Right. And, someone would say, well, you have to use, there's no keys, there's nothing else. You have to use a card to get in my house. Well, if I can walk past you and use a little tool called a flipper, and I could probably copy your card in your pocket.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And in some cases, the electronic security, if you're basing that without marrying it with a physical security, with an actual key and a deadbolt, is actually going to make you more vulnerable than you would be without it.
What is a myth or a misconception about cars these days? Because now, we don't have the 1980, everything's a key. This key works the trunk and the door, glove box, ignition. What's the biggest misconception we get with like the newer style cars, I guess?
The biggest one we run into where, people will fight us tooth and nail on it, and they will claim that their car does not have a chip, as they call it, which is the transponder that talks to the brain of the computer, allows it to actually unlock all the systems.
The handshake.
And start, right, the handshake of the car. And from 96 on, the majority of cars will have a transponder in it. And
the only exception to that being up until about 2008, you had some utility vehicles that does not have transponders, or if it's a semi.
Right.
Or if it's a 2020 Hyundai Elantra and you can't get insurance on it.
Wow, that sounded personal.
I know a guy.
Yeah, Kia and Hyundai, they really refuse to do any kind of.
It was their way of not putting that $100,000 in someone's driveway. That was the most as if that was the most expensive part of the car.
And even before '96, Chevy, GM, they had their
VAT
VAT
style,
key,
yeah.
which was still a type of transponder, just a different
Yeah, how you want to explain real quick how that operated? Like, what was the initial concept behind that on the draw?
No, I hate them.
All right, good. Well,
VATS was a resistance.
Yeah.
What it was is it wouldn't allow the power to pass through unless you met a specific resistance, and then that allowed the ignition to receive it. So what they had like 15 to 20 different resistance types, and then in each different blank for the models.
last week I had another guy come in, and he had 2 different keys. Like the cuts were complete. They're both quickset, but they're both completely different keys. And he hands them to me and says, "Yeah, I just need you to make me 1 key." And I said, "You want one of each?" "No, I just want 1 key." I said, "Okay, so you want these? Like you need them in a lock? Like you need both these keys to work in 1 lock?" "No, I need you to take this key and combine them together and make 1 key." And I just looked at him dumbfounded, and I said, I can't do that.
I can't have 2 possibilities within the same key.
Yeah.
I can't if you give me a handful of keys, I can't master key your lock without touching it.
Yes.
That's a myth. And I can't make 2 keys into 1 key.
Well, I got one more for you, and that is cameras cannot look around corners.
That's the big one for electronic security. If you can't see it stand in a position, it's very unlikely that the camera's going to be able to pick it up. So with cameras, if it's basically going to be your field of vision plus or minus 5%.
But yeah, that's just kind of a quick topic that we wanted to go over today. Hopefully it's entertaining. Like I said, we're going to try to do some more shows of Ask a Locksmith, Tales from the Road, some myth busting. If you guys, obviously you're commenting, you have questions. So if there's anything that you guys want us to talk about,
reach out to us.
You want to hear about us more personally, or if you want to hear more about the business,
or you want Brandon's personal number.
Yeah, my number. I will. Well, not everybody, but
I guess at this point is reach out to us on Facebook, on YouTube, online, on TikTok now, on Instagram. J&J is represented. You get to see some funny clips of us during the day or out and about, or just some small sneak peeks of what we're doing.
And if you want to see us down in person, you can always come down to the shop at 1304 West 4th Street or give us a call at 563-322-0123 or go to our website
at jjlocks.com.
Thanks for listening to Access Granted, a podcast by J&J Access and Security in association with TAG. For more information about J&J Access and Security, visit jjlocks.com.
TAG.